When I look at games that are focused around building stellar empires, I always wonder by myself, how did we get here? How do we get to this point? What was the impetus to get into space? What was the process to get there? In addition to that, there's TV shows like The Expanse, where there is a solar system without any FTL, and well, people have to move around in effectively chemical rockets, as well as some fusion drives here and there, and make sure that they can get to places to get the resources that they want to support their populations. And sadly, at the moment, there are no games out there that properly simulate this sort of scenario, how to get into space, colonizing everything, and having some sort of impetus. Now, there are a couple of games on the horizon that do cover this sort of thing. However, one of the titles that just had their Kickstarter launched is Terra Invicta. Now, this is a fascinating game by a fascinating team. It's made by Pavonis Interactive. They are the people behind, well, the ball-bustingly hard and long war for XCom, as well as XCom 2. And in all honesty, this is the first time that they're making a full game, but I do think they have their minds in the right place, because this is the kind of game that I would like to play. This is a grand strategy about influencing society, making sure resources go to the right places, because aliens have arrived in the outer solar system, and they are coming for our stuff. Yes, they're coming for Earth, and that's where I keep all my stuff, which is always a good impetus, again, to set up a fight, or at least your faction will, because you are a transnational organization that fights off the invaders. Why a transnational organization in this particular game? Well, the invaders have sent infiltrators to Earth, and all the nations are currently fighting each other and are unable to mount a response. Now, what are your goals in this game? Well, the long goal is to repel the invaders. At least that is the goal of your faction. There are other factions as well, but in order to get there, there are several stages that you will need to go through. And that is, you need to recruit a team of leaders that can unify resources as well as nations, potentially the whole planet, to get the resources you need in order to go out into the solar system and mine it dry for resources, basically. Which is a really cool concept. You gotta start from scratch from somewhere. It's something that was definitely a thing in XCom, where these guys basically taught themselves the trade. But you have to organize your resources, money, influence, make sure that countries join your effort, and that's where your counselors come in. Stage a coup in a country, crack down on sedition, find aliens, fight aliens, support wars, and tons more actions just to get to that first stage so that you can build yourself a rocket to build an orbital platform, because it is expensive to get stuff into space and it's easier to go out there and mine your resources. Now, this is all based on today's geopolitical model, which by itself is really cool, and being able to influence that to your particular goal is one of the cornerstones of the early game. Once you get past that point, and that point never really stops, because the aliens will continue throwing things at you, and we'll talk about them a little bit further. From that moment onwards, it's time to industrialize space in a fully modeled solar system with over 400 bodies, and that right there is crazy. You start out in the inner solar system, and as your technology advances, you can go further out and get better resources from the outer planets, and even go and bring the fight to the aliens themselves in the late game. And that right there is something that, yeah, that's the good stuff right there. So, build orbital structures, get mining outposts, mine asteroids, get stations all over the solar system, get yourselves shipyards to build your ships, because yes, you do have to build your own ships, and because the aliens are coming, and they have a massive technological advance, and you're going to need the resources to overcome that. And fighting the aliens is done in possible real-time combat with full Newtonian physics, so whenever a fight is going into a certain direction and you want to make sure your ships are going into the right place, well, you're going to need to pause and adjust your thruster vectors, because yes, that is a thing. Fully articulated combat that you can influence, so you're no longer throwing your ships into the fray and hope that they survive. Now, the aliens will fight back on all fronts. They will try to subvert governments. They will try to deploy armies. They will send alien megafauna. They will deploy ships to destroy your assets, or they will help other factions that are friendly to them. For other factions that are friendly to them, oh yes, there's multiple factions actually, aside from your own. A faction that wants to destroy the aliens, is xenophobic, exploit the aliens for capitalist goodness, submit to the aliens because, well, they're afraid, coexist with the aliens, ally with the aliens, leave the solar system just in total because, you know, Earth is the cradle of the mind and one must leave the cradle at some point. And then, of course, there is you, who wants to just defeat the aliens. Now, the aliens themselves, what are their goals? Where do they come from? And this is something for you to find out during the gameplay of this. Now, of course, this is a Kickstarter, and that comes with all sorts of issues. According to the development team, right now they are feature complete. The game is in alpha. They've got politics in place, counselors, stations, management, research, that is all there. And also spaceship construction is effectively done. Now, right now they're still working on the actual navigation of said ships. They have a system in place, but apparently the math is not completely up to spec, so they're going to be working on that. And effectively, the game has been funded, but they want to do more with it, and they've got stuff planned, and that's why the Kickstarter is here. Basically, they want to add additional bells and whistles to the game and make this somewhat of a quote-unquote PR campaign. So they want to do things like playable factions, additional voice acting, and that sort of thing. And development of the game has come quite a way. Ever since they initially announced it about a year ago, they found themselves a publisher. They've polished the game quite significantly since then, and I do feel that this is one of those titles that I really want to sink my teeth into. So if you're one of those people that is like, yeah, I'd like a little bit more of grand strategy in my life and do a little bit of political intrigue whilst also doing stuff in space, exploiting the solar system like they do in The Expanse, then this may be the game for you. Right now it's slated for release sometime in August of 2021, but of course with the Kickstarter you can buy yourself into the beta or even the alpha if you really want to, and there's a couple of other things as well. I have pledged myself to that beta access, which is always nice. It's something that it's a little bit worrying though, because I don't really like to be spoiled in general, but still it is something that I am looking forward to outside of the games that I'm playing right now, especially from a team that has made one of the mods that I played quite a lot of in XCom, The Long War, a mod that was designed to kick you in the balls and did so very frequently. Anyway, if this is something for you, go and check out the Kickstarter. It's in the description down below. Maybe it is something for you. If it is, then feel free to pledge. If not, well, maybe sometime next year it will come out on Steam or whatever platform, and you can pick it up then. But in the meantime, I will be covering more about this game in the near future for those of you who are interested in it, and that is that. I want to thank you all for watching, and of course thank you to my patrons for making this video possible. I'm always exploring new titles that are interesting for the channel, and this is potentially one of those that I am looking forward to in the next 2 years, but we will see. In the meantime though, we're gonna go and wrap up this video here. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, take good care of yourselves, and as always, support your creators. Check out Terra Invicta.